Hi, I'm Karen from Freedomberry Farm, also known as Kate's Mum, and we're going to make a liquid castile soap today. I've never made liquid soap before. I've now made 2 batches. Made one that was an all olive oil batch, and the second one that I'm videoing today is a coconut oil and olive oil batch. So let's get in the kitchen and get started. The recipe calls to put the coconut oil and the olive oil in your crock pot on high heat. And the reason you want to get this all nicely melted and hot before you add your lye to the water is so that your lye water and your oils are both at about the same temperature before you add the lye water into your heated oils. Making sure that your oils and your lye water are really close in temperature means that saponification is going to kick off sooner and the whole blending process isn't going to take as long. I'm outside. I'm about to add the lye to the water, and you remember you always add the lye into the water, and you can remember it by snow always falls onto the lake. So I've got my gloves, I've got my mask, I've got some glasses for eye protection. I've also got my large jug of vinegar because it neutralizes lye should I have a spill. And I've also got my temperature gun that we use with our outdoor wood-fired oven. And I'm going to just check between the lye water and the oils to make sure that they're at the same or similar temperature. So we're just going to slowly stir the lye into the water. Remember, snow always falls on the water, not the other way around. You do it the other way around, you could actually have an explosion of lye coming up into your face. And I'll just show you, just dissolving, becoming cloudy, and also it's becoming hot. So it's at 167. The water itself was only at 67, so now it's up to 167 Fahrenheit. I'm inside now. The fan is on. Still have my rubber gloves. Got my vinegar. And I'm going to pour the lye solution into the heated oils. See, immediately it went cloudy. And stir it for a little bit before I start using the immersion blender. So we're going to use the immersion blender until it gets to kind of like a mayonnaise stage. And then it's going to go through a few stages: mayonnaise, pudding, mashed potatoes, and back to kind of a really stiff, smooth paste. And here we go. You can just see here the mixture is starting to slightly thicken just by a bit. I had to stop and get on my long sleeve t-shirt because I realized I'd taken off my sweater. I'm a little bit like a safety inspector. I want to have everything covered in case any lye splatters up at me. You can see we're at a kind of a pudding texture or a mayonnaise texture. It's thickening, but it's taken a good 15 minutes to get to this point. See how it's pretty stretchy, it's coming together in a gloopy mess. A mess. Sorry. A gloopy structure, whatever we want to call that.
And when it moves through the mashed potato stage and back out into a pudding stage is when you want to let it cook. So this, I've used 2 different recipes now for making hot process liquid Castile liquid soap. And this one is a coconut oil and olive oil soap. It will cook for 2 to 3 hours covered. I will be stirring it every 20 to 30 minutes in that period of time. So we'll check back in. I'm just waiting for it to get a little bit smoother, just a little bit lumpier than I want, still a little bit mashed potato-y. Once I feel comfortable with the stage it's at, I will be covering it for its cooking process. Well, the sun is streaming in, so maybe it's a little bit harder to see what's going on, but it's a nice soft soap. Stirs up well. A little glob up there, can you see? Maybe on the side there. That's pretty. Set the timer for another half an hour. The soap paste has finished cooking, and you can see it's still a bit pliable. I actually cooked it for 4 hours because it was doing really well, and a friend was coming for a walk, so I decided to leave it for that extra hour. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put all of this in a mason jar. This recipe calls for me to weigh out the amount of soap paste I'm going to use and then use 0.8 of that same amount of distilled water and 0.2 of that same amount of glycerin. So here is the soap paste. Look at it, it's all nice and warbly. And so I'm going to be putting this back into the crock pot, and then I'll measure out 0.8 of this amount, which is about 240 grams. So 0.8 of that amount in distilled water and then glycerin. And so we've got the water in there, we've got the soap paste in there, and now I'm going to get the vegetable glycerin in here. And the vegetable glycerin is said to help with the dilution process, and a byproduct of saponification when you make soap is glycerin. But this just adds to making this a gentle soap for your skin, as well as helping to dilute it into the liquid soap format. So we're going to heat this up, and I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to leave it for a number of hours, and I may even end up leaving it on low heat overnight. And we'll just see how long it takes. I haven't done it this way before. The first liquid soap I made, it actually called for glycerin in the recipe, and you diluted it using hot water. So we'll see how this one works. The paste has now all dissolved into the water and glycerin mixture. And you can see how it's translucent. It's not completely clear, but it's not opaque either. And according to what I read, this is perfectly acceptable. Sometimes your soap will get clear, but sometimes it will just stay slightly milky. I'm just going to give a demonstration on how this sets up. This is our liquid Castile soap that's made with coconut oil and olive oil, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's you have to add a bit of water, but
see on my hands. Whoopsie. Then we got some nice foamy stuff going, and oh, it feels so soft. My hands feel so smooth. And all in all, it wasn't too crazy of a process. It got a little bit hairy when I was trying to dilute the soap paste into the water and glycerin because my crock pot, it doesn't want to turn down very low even when it's on keep warm. So I wasn't paying attention and too much water got evaporated, and I was a little bit worried about how this was going to work, but it's great. This is a soap paste from the two different batches that I've made. This is the olive oil batch, and this is the coconut and olive oil batch. Both soap paste recipes were very, very similar, easy to execute. Always make sure that you use potassium hydroxide because that's the type of lye that you need for making liquid soap. These will dilute into many batches of liquid soap, but I will keep them in the paste form until I want to make up a bottle of liquid soap, as adding the water in can apparently introduce all sorts of different microbes and it could make your soap go bad. So go forth and make soap.